Welcome back, everybody. We pick up from the last episode in the small Namibian town of Apua, where I was stuck with quite a dilemma and a ticking clock pushing me along. The upshot was the curfew kicked in 2 hours from now. Police checkpoints would be going up everywhere, and all I knew was I sure as heck wasn't staying in the very grim and very hot and dusty town of Apua. So where, within a 2-hour radius of Apua, did I want to get stuck was the question. But the terrain was tough and the roads mostly really slow. The options were very limited. And I really didn't have any answers at all as the minutes ticked away. My whole world came crashing down a bit as the reality of the loss of freedom I was about to suffer really kicked in. My first thought had been to head back to Puros. Even though it was a 7-hour drive away, I could make it along the empty desert track. However, there was a risk of being flooded out from there again, and the next time it might be even bigger and in the middle of the night. The deciding factor, however, was that a company was keen to hire me and wanted to schedule some interviews, so I needed to find reliable internet connectivity, and only very slow 2G was available up there. And so this is where we ended up instead. Welcome to the Kowarub River. It's mostly a small flow but year-round underground river, and a few places like this, the water hits rock underground and rises to the surface before disappearing back into the sand when it can. Sitting in the land in Apua, I realized that the road from Apua southwest towards Sesfontein had been upgraded to good gravel, so I might make it before it was dark, and that I'd previously stayed in a nice community campsite a bit south of there that has one fantastic site up high with a great view of the river and a nice half building to shelter in. So in the fading afternoon light, I blasted down the C43 and snuck into the river canyon with the campsite as dusk and the curfew was setting in. But then we had a few problems. There was no water at the campsite at all, nor electricity. It was basically closed, and there was no 3G signal this far up in the canyon. So in the fading light, I headed back down the canyon road wondering what to do. Luckily, somebody had built a fancy tinted lodge at the entrance of the canyon road, so I swung in there. They explained that it was closed, but I could stay if I was totally self-sufficient, and we agreed on a cheap rate given I was just sleeping in one of their tents instead of my own. So that's how I came to stay in a luxury lodge for a budget price for the next 18 days. Waking up the next day, I realized I'd fallen on my feet a little bit. This wasn't going to be too much of a hardship, despite the heat being stifling at times. Settling in a little, I tried this tent first as it had a nice view of the river, and like them all, a quirky outdoor bathroom with plenty of scope for spiders and snakes as toilet company. But it proved a little impractical heat and access-wise for the landy, so I upgraded to the stone room, which was larger, cooler, and had a less spooky bathroom. Pro tip, always flush the toilet before sitting on it. Spiders tend to live up under the bowl rim when they aren't used for a while. There was a nice little swimming pool, but not much shade around it, so lying in the river under a tree proved much nicer, if you didn't mind the possibility of a visit from a snake or a lion, which is not a joke. I saw 3 snakes doing this, and people told me they saw lion tracks along the river mouth when I was staying here, so they do patrol up and down at times. The days slowly blended into each other. I had a bit of a rest from the sun, which my skin appreciated, stocked up on nutrients with a fridge full of supplies from Apua, and did some maintenance on the landy, where I noticed that the original coolant links on the engine were getting worse, so definitely time to head to a mechanic when I was free again. In these early days, I also continued to film and try and share some of the experience of being stuck here. Who doesn't want more footage of rocks after all? But as the days rolled on, I found my heart wasn't really in it anymore. I'd watched what I'd filmed so far and was very disheartened, and so my focus switched more to the job interviews I had lined up and how I was going to work remotely from now on. A bit of a shame, as the rocks were very nice here in the right light. So folks, this is where I dropped out again and stopped filming completely, with no plans to ever start again. The end of the channel, the end of Roaming Yak before it ever really started. No plans to ever edit what you've seen so far. Instead, back into the corporate world and all of its insane BS. Yay. But luckily, with a lot of time to fill in during the 18 days I was stuck here, curiosity kept nagging away at me surrounding the cameras I had brought with me. So I continued to experiment with their various settings and taking photographs in the gorgeous afternoon light. As I crawled around in the sand trying to avoid scorpions and cactus needles, I couldn't help thinking this was a lot more real and fun compared to crawling around in the corporate jungle. The interviews went very well, and then kaboom! All restrictions were lifted, and I was free to move around again within the country. Although the borders would be closed for a long time yet, those 18 days were the only ones where I was not able to move around carefully to some degree. Sadly, this picture taken much later on in our journey together summed up the next 2 weeks. The Landy needed some attention in a few serious ways, as we had really slapped her together to get out of the restricted zones earlier on. But the only professional option I knew of was in the middle of an extremely stressing personal situation, of the kind that only Africa can perhaps throw up at you. So it was a slow and difficult time getting 3 days' work done, spread out over 2 weeks. But we finally got there in the end, even if they didn't tighten my fan on properly at the end and it shattered on the driveway as I left. Whilst in Windhoek and the Landy was busy making friends, I had the final job interview. But the executive in charge, in my opinion, wasn't really mature enough in his outlook, so it had proven to be a complete waste of time and money all round. Great. However, there's nothing quite like a new set of tyres to cheer yourself up with, and it was a relief to get them on, as the old ones were almost held together with string by now. And I also had a custom-made wheel cover, made for the back spare. And there's nothing like a little adventure to test out new tyres on. This is an off-road course just north of Windhoek, which has a pretty lake buried in the hills, with something very interesting on its island, it seems. So, a fully serviced and fixed Landy, no job, new tyres, and no restrictions. Where to go next? In such a huge and fascinating country, it seems like I was completely spoilt for choice. However, I had been pretty much everywhere before, usually 2 or 3 times, and I was really in the mood for somewhere new after almost 5 weeks of being hemmed in and restricted. Looking at a detailed map, it struck me that a fun and meaningless thing to do would be to drive around the outside of Namibia, always taking the track next to the border or ocean where possible. And I mean where possible, as huge areas of Namibia are restricted due to mining or national parks, for example. Hey, what the heck? That sounds like fun. Let's go. So from the capital city of Windhoek, I set off directly east to the Botswana border, and then cut across to the tracks that hug the border to start this journey where the roads would be mostly new to me. And then a strange thing happened. I randomly started filming again. I don't know what I thought I'd ever do with the footage, but obviously the desire was still there, if we could find a suitable outlet for it. Something, somewhere within me, was refusing to die, and this is what it produced. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Very corrugated and slow, but it's a nice track. The most important thing is the grass in the middle of the track is nice and low, so I'm not getting grass seeds into my radiator, so it's definitely grass seed season at the moment. You can see all the grass, it's nice and high. All the seed pods are just sitting at the top waiting for the wind to blow them away. And so when the Land Rover pushes through it, if it's tall enough, you collect all the seed pods. It tilts your radiator up, and all of a sudden you're nowhere near as efficient with your cooling. Cattle over there. This is all farmland. That's why it's all fenced. So it's a bit boring, to be honest. It's sort of, you have a sense of adventure, but it's completely ruined by the domestic farm animals and the fencing. It's about half an hour till sunset, and I've pulled up just on the side of the track here, only a few meters away from the track. But once it's dark, I might be hidden enough if someone drives by. This is what's called a D road here. It's a minor road. It's very much a farm track. It's labelled as a scenic route because it's quite nice, but it's pretty much access for farmers. I don't think anyone's going to take this route to get anywhere. So if there's any traffic at night, I'm assuming it's going to be the local farmers accessing their land. I'm guessing these are sort of like the side and the back end of lots, and this is sort of an access road through them. So yeah, I usually wait till it's actually dark before I flick the tent up. As you see, I'm sort of a little bit hidden over there. Not as brilliantly as you could be, but what I liked was there was no grass on that space. So the track itself is quite nice. It's just compacted sand. It's not hard going at all. No great revs from the engine or anything needed. Expect to have to be a bit careful of wildlife here. Leopards could be a problem, hyenas, definitely be some honey badgers, but probably won't see those, unfortunately. Yeah, so I'm just going to have a quick wash while the sun's still up, and quick something to eat, and wait for the sun to go down and stick the tent up then. I am wondering what lives in these holes down here. Very snaky bush, but it's too cold for snakes at night, so that's a blessing. So the sun's gone down and the temperature's plummeting, which is great. This is going to be a good night for sleeping, I think. Not as cold as Windhoek, but pretty cold, so it'll be woolly hat and thermal underwear. Had a very quick and easy dinner of cold green pepper, a couple of bananas and a handful of chocolate peanuts. Okay, 3 handfuls. Anyway, hopefully we're not going to be disturbed, I think, tonight. If anyone's going to go through, it'll probably be in the next 45 minutes. Okay, so now we're nice and high and off the ground. We've got sort of a fighting chance of seeing anything. Bit spooky, eh, when it gets dark? You don't know what's out there. But to be honest, I'm mostly only afraid of people. There's no elephants here that I know of, so they'll smash you up. And other than that, I'm fairly confident with most animals. It's really people. It's a nice time of the day. I can just sit on the roof tent here, admire the colours in the sky, bug in the air. It's nice and cool now. I've been a little bit hot this afternoon. It's definitely going to be quite cold tonight. Listening for the low grumble of a diesel engine to see if anyone's coming along. So hopefully not. Thinking back about today, yeah, it's a pretty good day. Woke up in Windhoek freezing cold. But quickly packed up. And yeah, beautiful sealed road down to Dodaburus, something like that. I'll put it on the screen. Yeah, and then pretty good gravel road. The grader was going up and down it. It was in good condition. Yeah, easy driving, listening to music. Then I went into the sort of what they call the communal area, which is quite different actually, quite different. It was definitely different soil. It had some big water pans in it, and just flat bush, grass, sort of bush, no big trees or anything much. I don't know much about the people in this area, if they're San people or if San people are further north, but it looked like everyone, there's no fences, there's one big fence around the area, and it looked like everyone sort of herded cattle and used the water in the pans. The pan is like a lake, I guess you'd say, small shallow lake, and during the dry season like now it dries up, but during the rainy season it's going to collect. That's where water will collect. And then we popped out the southern exit of that conservancy or communal area, and straight away you come into what they call this scenic route. It's just a farmer's track, a D road, a minor road, but it was marked on my map as being a scenic route. The nice thing is the applications, navigation apps that most travellers are using doesn't have anything in this area at all, not a single campsite or route or stop off. So I think it's mostly locals, Namibians and South Africans and that know to do this road. Yeah, and so far it's nice. It's just a pleasant putt, second gear. Should be a good day tomorrow, I think. Just going to putt along this track. I'm assuming it's going to take 2 to 3 hours. And then we're going to try and go down to what they call Union's End, where the 3 countries of South Africa, Botswana and Namibia all meet. On the map it does highlight the last few kilometres, sort of looks permit only, and it's probably blocked off because, I don't know, you can go to the corner of Botswana, South Africa and Mozambique, so I don't see why you can't go to this one. Anyway, we'll try that, and then we'll just continue hugging the sort of western boundary of Namibia and see what happens. Anyway, we will hopefully get a good quiet night's sleep tonight and see what the sun brings us tomorrow. Okay, good night. Oh, a long cold night. I went to sleep about 7, woke up at midnight, quite a few hours awake. Managed to drift off a little bit at the end, and
Sun's come up, so time to get up and try and warm up a little bit. It's very cold actually, much colder than in Windhoek. But the good news is the sun's always too sleepy to say anything funny or insightful. Good morning, outside world. Breakfast is instant porridge, banana and instant coffee. Nothing but the best. On the road again! Just can't wait to get on the road again. Half a kilometre, and it's a much better, much flatter, non-sandy, non-spiky, non-thorny place to camp. But that's bush camping for you.
I kept driving on and on and on. I swept down through the Kalahari Desert to the southeasternmost corner of the country, and then all along the Orange River that forms the border between South Africa and Namibia. And out onto the coast at the river mouth, at the quirky town with the name that is hard to pronounce correctly, Arrangement. From the river mouth, it was a case of ducking back inland to go around the diamond mining area, and then out at the coast again at Luderitz. I was enjoying the freedom of the open road without the burden of filming anything, just plodding along at my own pace. It was really quite nice in some ways. At this stage, most of the major tourist sites in Namibia were opening up again, so that at least Namibians could visit, even if the borders were still all sealed. So I headed up to a tourist site I'd normally give a wide berth due to its popularity. I'm in Sossusvlei, which is Namibia's second or first most popular tourist attraction. It's basically just some small lakes and some sand dunes that occasionally have some water in and a bunch of dead trees. Very beautiful. And to get here, you come down a 60-kilometre long sort of valley of dunes with red dunes on one side and sort of sand-coloured dunes on the other side, funnily enough. But yeah, because of there's nobody else here. This would normally be absolutely crawling with people. So fantastic opportunity to have the whole place to myself. So I really enjoyed it. Did a hike up into what they call the Hidden Lake and just exploring a little bit. As the sun goes down, everything becomes much prettier. Because I'm staying in the park, normally completely booked out, and no hope of getting the place, incredibly expensive. Yeah, nobody there at all, so good fun. Good morning. Here I am, all alone at Sossusvlei, which is Namibia's probably second or first most visited tourist attraction. Got a cloudy sort of day, so the sun's peeking out from behind the clouds. So we're just having a quick peek out at the moment. So yeah, I've had the whole place to myself yesterday and today. Yesterday was bright sunshine and nice, and today yeah, there I am. It's just me. So fantastic experience. This is heavily touristed now. I normally wouldn't bother coming here because it would be an awful experience with, too many people and noise and chaos and full campsites and check-in disaster and all that sort of stuff. But it's been a lovely experience, similar to when I was here 10 years ago. I stayed for 3 days and had the whole area and campsite to myself, which was fantastic, and I'd imagine a very unique experience never to be repeated. This area has a lot of mainstream tourism flowing through it now. I didn't really do justice to recording its beauty or the occasion by only taking a few holiday snaps again on my phone. I just enjoyed goofing around and enjoying the experience for myself and friends I was going to share these with. In case my other message is too long and I can't upload it because I'm only on the Edge network, happy 40th birthday, Tina from Susavlay! No one else is here, I have the whole place to myself, but I'm thinking of you. Have a good day. Bye, happy birthday. Happy 40th indeed, Tina. There was also another little milestone I recorded on the same day. When you drive a lot of kilometres, you start watching out for these little quirks on the odometer. This is my second one, by the way. The original wore out. Driving back towards the exit for the last time, I thought it might be nice to record the drive, as it was very pretty and it just seemed like I should record the complete lack of other people for some historical reason. North of Susavlay, I was going to keep hugging the coastline, but when staying here with the nice owners, I had a filling in my tooth pop out, so I had to head over this pretty mountain pass back to the capital Windhoek to get to a dentist. While sitting in the dentist chair being drilled and under heavy sedation, it dawned on me that I was somewhat wasting the cool opportunity I'd been given and having the country more or less to myself as a tourist. The last few weeks have been fine, bumming around, just taking a few camera snaps to share with friends. But I was really drifting along without much purpose, and the days seemed a little bit vacant. What I needed to do was find something other than myself to film, where something more interesting was the main focus, something that everybody finds fascinating and would like to experience for themselves. Staring up at the dentist as she drilled away, I had two pleasant thoughts. One, she is really pretty, and I could definitely fall in love with her. And two, I'd just figured out what I wanted to film and share the beauty of with others, as long as I made it out of the dentist chair unmarried and alive. Ouch!
Stop pulling the dice and just compromise. It's the chance of your life.